Hi everyone, happy Sunday. I'm glad you've joined us today. I'm Reverend Kathy McCall, and I'm the minister at Unity North Spiritual Center in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. So welcome to our Sunday lesson on August 2nd, 2020. Can you believe it's August? The summer is flying by. So if you're with us for the first time today, or you can't remember, our website is unitynorthmn.org. That's Unity North, the abbreviation for Minnesota.org. And you can go on there, check us out. You'll find this lesson later, as well as past lessons. Share them with your friends, invite other people to join in. And also, there's a donation button if you'd care to give a donation to Unity North Spiritual Center to our during our time of closure when we cannot collect offerings live. It's very helpful. And you can also register for upcoming events. The first thing is an angel class I'm starting next Thursday, August 6th, Calling All Angels. And it's a virtual class from 6:30 to 8 Central Time. But wherever you are, join in. And you can check out online where to register, how to register. And that will be the 6th, the 13th, and the 20th, a 3-week class. So I really hope you join us. Virtual classes are actually very fun. And then then it's important to note your calendar for our Good For You days. And I'm adding an S on the end because this is a virtual class, a virtual experience this year. It's usually our healing day and our big fundraiser for the year. And this year, to keep everybody safe, we're doing it all virtually. So there will be classes, there will be healing experiences. And just for now, mark your calendar. It starts on Friday, September 18th. So we'll be sending out much more information in the near future. So today we begin with the daily word, and that will be followed with our lesson. The daily word today, you find it here, is compassion. I am kind and compassionate. Seeking to grow in compassion, I look to the example of Jesus. Gospel stories give many examples of Jesus showing compassion by demonstrating keen awareness of the needs and feelings of friends and strangers alike. I remember learning Jesus did not turn away from social outcasts. He healed them and he shared meals with them. His compassion fed a multitude and restored wine to a wedding upon reception. Well, upon learning that his dear friend had died, Jesus wept. And when his disciples deserted him as he was crucified, Jesus asked God to forgive them. As I desire to grow in compassion, I know that my kind words and even simply my loving presence provide comfort. I listen deeply with my heart as well as with my ears. And from Philippians chapter 2, verse 4, let each of you look not to your own interests, but to the interests of others. So the talk today is called The Body Temple. There is a short history of medicine. Doctor, I have an earache. Well, the response in 2000 BCE was, here, eat this root. In 1000 BCE, that root is heathen, say this prayer. In 1850, that prayer is superstition, drink this potion. In 1940, that potion is snake oil, swallow this pill. 1985, that pill is ineffective, take this antibiotic. in 2020, that antibiotic is artificial. Here, eat this root. When I had knee surgery back in 1996, I was temporarily disabled and in a wheelchair for a month, knowing the recovery was going to take longer than believed. And though it wasn't a replacement, it was serious surgery. So during that time, one of the worst thoughts for me was the thought of not being able to dance. And it's ironic because, dancing was never a really frequent activity for me. Nobody ever called me Ginger Rogers or anything. But I did love Sufi dancing, or the dances of universal peace, through the years when I attended. And I've often had experiences of bliss and ecstasy and incredible love of life during those experiences. But when I reflect on some of the joyful moments of my life, many include dance. Dancing as a child, dancing at concerts with friends, dancing with my sons when they were children, dancing with my second ex-husband about once, and later with my grandchildren. Well, there's so much about dance that's connected with joy, celebration, and love. It's the body in sacred motion. The world's religions encourage us to view the body as a companion, as a mediator of our experiences of the world, as a vehicle for transformation, and as a temple of God. Jews regard the body and soul as being linked. Christians emphasize the incarnation of the sacred in human flesh. Hindus celebrate the body as a vessel for salvation, while both Buddhists and Taoists practice healing arts, which attend to the breath and energy in the body. Native Americans and some primal religions consider the body's movement in dance to be a form of prayer. It is said that the Creator dances creation. And through dance, one experiences the flow of life in mind and body. Yet the most prevalent spiritual disease of our time, according to theologian Sally McFaig, is not wanting to be here, not wanting to be in a physical body. And if you're like me, sometimes it's easier to be in the head, in your thoughts, than in your body. Whenever I've had Carillion photography done, that which shows your aura, it is apparent that I'm often floating outside of my body. Well, the Christian Church's 2,000-year history of teaching that the body and sexuality are evil has not helped us at all to become comfortable in our bodies. The teaching has become part of our dualistic thinking, in which we tend to believe the soul is spiritual and the body is physical. And ultimately, we leave the body behind. And yet, if our body becomes sick or addicted, the soul cannot always fulfill its purpose. So the love of our body is such an important aspect of our spiritual and physical development. The body is the vehicle through which we know and experience the flow of life. And the body is in the soul rather than the opposite. I like what humorist Ashley Brilliant has to say about the body and its well-being in his book titled, "I Feel Much Better Now That I've Given Up Hope." And these are a few of his statements. "The doctors have been doing everything in their power, but somehow I'm still alive." No offense to doctors. "Well, always take your vitamins in alphabetical order. It hasn't yet been proven necessary, but why take chances? My main reason for wanting to stay healthy is so I can keep doing my exercises." Yeah, right. "My struggle to remain healthy is gradually killing me." And finally, "I'm afraid there may be something about myself I'm allergic to." I like Ashley Brilliant. Well, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, once wrote, "The real body of God is a living body. Above all, it is a beautiful body, a temple. And God himself is in that temple. The marvels, the intricacies, and the splendor of just one tiny cell of this temple would put to shame 10,000 temples of Solomon. So awesome are the structure and function of our body temples. So wonderfully made are we." Well, the Old Testament put a lot of emphasis on the temple. And in the New Testament, Jesus spoke of the body temple, and his healings were of the mind and body jointly. The first temple in the Bible was a tent. And that was as good as they could do at the time. And some of us still have a tent consciousness when it comes to the body, treating it like an old camping tent, temporarily tattered by life, rather than seeing it as a temple. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, wrote, "Sometimes we fail to remember that the temple is for the use of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the healing stream, the flow of life within us, so it behooves us to take care of the body. Certainly exercise, diet, body work is important. Anything that helps us to stimulate the healing stream. There's a universal tendency for everything to return to normal when the balance of life has been violated. Scar a tree with an axe and return after a time. Nature's healed the scar. Or cut your finger. In a few days, the cut is healed. The healing stream of life is the reality behind every appearance. Whether the method employed is medication or meditation, one can only cooperate in opening the mind and body processes to the ceaseless flow of the healing stream." The late Eric Butterworth, Unity minister and author, said, "It is an axiom of modern medicine that the only disease of the body is congestion, and that all other ailments are but an intensification of that congestion, which inhibits the natural flow of the healing stream. All congestion first takes root in the mind." Well, Jesus called it resistance. Modern researchers call it stress. Resistance begins in the mind, where self-limiting attitudes become poor conductors for the flow. Then the cells of the body, taking their cue from the mental state, begin to experience resistance and congestion. The healing stream is converted into fever, pain, deterioration. Now, this is an oversimplification, but it indicates how the limitation of consciousness produces stress, which gives rise to the ills of the body. There are many limiting thoughts and attitudes, from unforgiveness to resentment to lack, fear, and anger. But for now, let us imagine the ones that pertain specifically to our own bodies, such as, and I know we've said them all, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, my legs are funny looking, my hair's too oily, I have a scar that shows, I had an abortion once, my father molested me, I have scars from a belt, my mother called me ugly duckling, I've had so many injuries, I beat up my body, it's older than it looks, I have cellulite, and on it goes, We can change our thoughts and let the flow of life, the Holy Spirit, bring us into wholeness, whether we are experiencing symptoms or serious health challenges, or whether we simply choose to act preventatively. If we want to change our body, we must change our awareness first. Well, a husband was fearing his wife was not hearing as well as she used to, and he thought she might need a hearing aid. Not quite sure how to approach her, he called the family doctor to discuss the problem. The doctor told him, well, there's a simple informal test the husband could perform to give the doctor a better idea about her hearing loss. Here's what you do, said the doctor. Stand about 40 feet away from her. In a normal conversational speaking tone, see if she hears you. If not, go to 30 feet, then 20, and so on until you get a response. So that evening, his wife is in the kitchen cooking dinner. The husband's in the den. He says to himself, well, I'm about 40 feet away. Let's see what happens. In a normal tone, he asks, honey, what's for dinner? No response. So the husband moves closer to the kitchen, about 30 feet from his wife, repeats, honey, what's for dinner? No response. So next he moves into the dining room where he's about 20 feet away from his wife, and he asks, honey, what's for dinner? Again, he gets no response. So he walks up to the kitchen door about 10 feet away. Honey, what's for dinner? Again, no response. So he walks right up behind her. Honey, what's for dinner? She turns. Ralph, for the 5th time, I said chicken. Well, sometimes we have to become aware of the real issue before we can take the right action. So let us focus on the truth that we are part of a great healing stream, the flow of life. The Holy Spirit can heal us and restore us to wholeness. It's helpful for us to hear the stories of others who have accessed that healing stream. Ann Scott said, a physician told me of a patient of hers who could no longer work because of fatigue and chronic back pain. One day, this patient decided to watch her cat and do whatever the cat did. So when he stretched, she stretched. When he rested, she rested. When he ate, she ate, and so it went. The cat showed her how to get in touch with her own instinctual rhythms. It was a profound lesson, after which she was able to listen to her own body. She developed a growing sensitivity to the language of her body and learned how to help it heal. Well, Donna Markova tells us, when I was in the hospital, the one person whose presence I welcomed was a woman who came to sweep the floors with a large push broom. She was the only one who didn't stick things in, take things out, or ask stupid questions. For a few minutes each night, this immense Jamaican woman rested her broom against the wall and sank her body into the turquoise plastic chair in my room. All I heard was the sound of her breath, in and out, in and out. It was comforting in a strange and simple way. My own breathing calmed. Of the 50 or so people that made contact with me in any given day, she was the only one who was not trying to change me. One night she reached out, put her hand on top of my shoulder. I'm not usually comfortable with casual touch, but her hand felt so natural being there. Happened to be one of the few places in my body that did not hurt. I could have sworn she was saying 2 words with each breath, one on the inhale, one on the exhale. As is, as is. On her next visit, she looked at me. No evaluation, no trying to figure me out. She just looked at me and saw me. Then she said simply, "You are more than the sickness in that body." I was pretty doped up, so I wasn't sure I understood her, but my mind was just too thick to ask questions. I kept mumbling those words to myself throughout the following day. I'm more than the sickness in this body. I'm more than the suffering in this body. I remember her voice clearly. It was rich, deep, full, like maple syrup in the spring. I reached out for her hand. It was cool and dry. I knew she would not let go. She continued, "You are not the fear in that body. You are more than fear. Float on it, float above it. You are more than pain." I began to breathe a little deeper, and as I did, when I wanted to float in a lake, I remember floating in Lake George when I was 5, floating in the Atlantic Ocean at Coney Island when I was 7, floating in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Africa when I was 28. Without any instruction from me, this Jamaican guide had led me to a source of comfort that was wider and deeper than pain or fear. It has been 15 years since I've seen the woman with the broom. I have never been able to find her. No one could remember her name, but she touched my soul with her compassionate presence, and her fingerprints are still there. You know, our body is the temple of the living God. It is fed, vitalized, and sustained by the healing, renewing stream of life. If we give consciously in the flow and keep consciously in the flow, we are guided to eat those things the body requires and do for our body what it needs. Jesus claimed that more important than what goes into the mouth is what comes out of it. The power of the spoken word helps us to activate the flow of life as well. We can affirm, "I am in the flow of life and I move easily with the flow. I am radiantly and enthusiastically alive. I am free from tension, stress, and strain. And I go forward in the flow of life, unhurried and unworried." Let me say those again. I am in the flow of life and I move easily with the flow. I am radiantly and enthusiastically alive. I am free from tension, stress, and strain. And I go forward in the flow of life, unhurried and unworried. We have a choice. Someone might ask us, "How are you?" We can respond, "I feel terrible, my back aches." Or we can say, "I am in the flow of life." We can forgive our bodies for being mortal and imperfect. Instead of our constant negative self-talk about our less than perfect bodies, let us stop and forgive them and ask their forgiveness of us. Less than perfect bodies could be an issue for seniors. A woman writes, "When I was at the checkout and ready to pay for my groceries, the cashier said, 'Strip down facing me,' making a mental note so I could complain to my local police about the security rubbish. I did just as she had instructed. After the shrieking and hysterical remarks finally subsided, I found out she was referring to how I should position my bank card, stripped down. Nonetheless, I've been asked to shop elsewhere in the future. They need to make their instructions a little clearer for seniors. I just hate this getting older stuff." We can praise our body for all that it does. Our body is a walking, living, breathing miracle. Tell it how great it is. Whenever there's a health challenge, we can remember, health is here now. Life is whole, and we can never be less than whole in the true reality of God and mind. The healing stream is constant. You know, I've been doing that since my hip replacement. I have been compensating with my left leg doing all the work for years. And I have a new hip, but the thigh is still cramping some because it did so for some years. I've apologized to it, I've thanked it, I've blessed it, told it it no longer needs to compensate for my hip joint because there's a new one. And I've asked it too, "Is there something you want to tell me?" And then I listen. And I continue to see it in the healing flow of life. Whatever we deal with, the need is not to overcome illness, but simply to get into the flow. When we do, then the illness often disappears. Let me say that again. Whatever we deal with, the need is not to overcome illness, but simply to get into the flow, because when we do, the illness often disappears. So let us participate in the dance, consciously treating our bodies as temples of the living God. First, take time to listen to your body, your ally. If some part is troubling you, ask it what it's trying to say, and then listen. Second, watch what you put into your body, eating healthy foods. Third, watch the spoken words that come out of it. Speak positive affirmations about life. Fourth, know that you are more than any pain or illness. Fifth, forgive your body and ask it to forgive you. And finally, sixth, let go into the flow and join the dance. The celebration of life in whatever way your body can move and be joyful. Isaiah 40:30 says, "They who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength." To wait on the Lord means to listen, to become one, to get into the flow. So they who listen and get into the flow shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. In closing, Eduardo Galeano writes, "The church says the body is a sin. Science says the body is a machine. Advertising says the body is a business. The body says, I am a fiesta." God bless you and have a wonderful week.